What's up, guys? It's Drew Dillon from Project Lift, and on this week we're looking at lower back and hip pain in weightlifting, and we're going to break it down in 3 areas. We're first going to look at pain and the description of it itself. It's important. Number 2, we're going to look at common pains that are seen by athletes in weightlifting that affect the back and the hip, and number 3, we're going to look at solutions to them. So let's get right into it. All right, guys, first thing we got to talk about is pain versus soreness and describing the pain at a deeper level. So remember, soreness is typically dull. It typically coincides with the symmetry of the body. What I mean by that is pain typically is asymmetrical. So it's on one side, whether it's a shoulder hurting, it's just one shoulder. If it's our back, it's one side of our back, one hip, one knee, right? So one elbow. So this is typically pain. And that's a sign that something's going on there. If both sides of the body have the same dull ache, that's typically soreness. And it might seem funny to bring that up, but a lot of athletes never have that conversation. The second thing I want to bring up, guys, is the intensity level of the sensation. So is it sharp? If it's a sharp pain, then we typically try to move away from it. Our nervous system does, uncontrollably, not thought about. And if that's getting us to change our technique, then guys, pump the brakes. It doesn't make any sense to continue training when we're trying to move or change our technique to get through it, because now we're not training our technique. So keep that in mind, guys. It's such an important realization there, guys, that you're wasting your time. You could get much further, closer to your goals, lifting more weight if you tune into what's going on, make adjustments, move on, versus typically if you continue to try to train through that, you'll change your technique, so you're not training the technique you want, and then 2, you're drawing it into a longer issue. So guys, if really it comes down to, if you're unsure, and you need support with your foundation, you need support with your technique, there's a huge opportunity coming up here in January for our 90-day program. And I'm going to link to it here. You guys can check it out, but it's a big opportunity to get coaching, to get these things locked in and take a big step to your goals. But hey, let's move on to our next section and let's look at common issues that are going on with this. All right, guys, let's talk about common issues with that hip and lower back. And number 1 is pain on one side of the back, right? So it's radiating typically from the bottom of the rib cage down. It may go into the glute. It may go down the leg a little bit. We need to be careful here, guys, because if anything's feeling nervy, right, tingly, you're kind of doing one of those where your leg's giving out a little bit, guys, it's not an issue to fix in the gym. Go and see a physical therapist. Go and see a chiropractor. Go see someone you trust to help you work through this issue, because we're getting into the nerve issue here. And guys, trust me, it's going to save you a ton of time. Right? So we got pain into one side of the back. Number 2, we get pain into the hip, right? So into that hip socket, and typically we're collapsing into this hip. Now again, if there's nothing nervy going on, both of these 2 issues that I've just mentioned can be corrected in the gym, and I'll get into that in solutions coming up. The third one I want to talk about is that bruising at the hip, that pubic bone area where the bar is coming off for, say, the snatch, right? And if that's an issue that's making you try to change your technique or really making you suffer in snatches, we'll talk about that too. But those are 3 common ones that typically come up into weightlifting, and I know it can cause a lot of athletes pain. So let's get into those solutions. All right, guys, let's talk about some solutions to the common hip pains. So we got 3. Right? We had pain on one side of the back, we have pain internal into one of the hip sockets, and then we also have that pain on that pubic bone area where that bar connects, okay? So guys, with mobility, when it comes down to it, it can help us open things up to then strengthen the correct movement. We need to be careful here, because if we're just stripping away the tightness, remember, the tightness is a protective mechanism of the body, right? So if we're just stripping away that protective mechanism and then going hard without making any corrections, bad things are going to happen, right? So guys, I got mobility issue for you here, mobility exercise, and that is the psoas. So digging into the psoas and opening up, and that can provide support to the lower back, that can provide support to the hip. And I want you guys to take that. I've linked to it. Run with it, guys. Try it out. I hope it relieves some pressure. To truly solve, to now build upon that, guys, there needs to be a movement assessment, and you need programming specific for you. And that's where, guys, the opportunity in January coming up, take advantage of it. Check it out, guys. Come in, get supported. Let's fix this. Let's get you on your way to the biggest gains that you've had. So, guys, when we look at that pain in the front of the hip, I'm not going to forget about that one. Now, this is typically a learning curve issue, but it also comes down into technique, right? There's no mobility issue here. There's no mobility exercise to make, say, that pubic bone area where the bar connects feel better. We need to let it rest. And if you find yourself moving, trying to change your grip, trying to change the way you're pulling to continue training, guys, move on. Move on to the next exercise. If you're modifying your technique into something that isn't the technique you want just to continue training, what are we doing here, right? Think about that. Like, here's a technique that's going to allow you to lift the most weight. Ow, I have a bruise. Let me change from the technique that's going to allow me to lift the most weight, train on that for a while to then move back into the technique that's going to help me lift more weight, but I haven't been training it because I've been training something else. Do you see? I'm confusing myself just talking. So guys, do not do that. Rest. Let the bruise heal, and then we have an issue with technique there. Typically, it's coming down into the arms are activating to pull the bar in, the hips activating to push forward, all mistakes when it comes to technique. And again, guys, the opportunity in January, get a coach. Come in, let's get that corrected. Let's make it a thing of the past. So guys, I truly hope to hear from you. I truly hope we can help you through this. And I hope the mobility with the psoas gives you support too. So guys, keep training hard. And until next time, good luck.
With the psoas, we have 2 spots here that we are going to work. To find the first one, locate your belly button. And then it's about 2 inches over, kind of right there in between the abdomen and the oblique. Nice and smooth over. You'll feel that kind of where it sinks into between those muscles. And then the second spot is going to be about 2 inches lower from that, maybe more like 3, kind of right across from that hip bone. We're going to be working both spots. When you get yourself set, find that belly button first, then roll that ball over to the spot and kind of hold that as you come down. You want to be elevated on something. So I'm using a book that's about 2-3 inches tall. That is appropriate. A yoga block is the most appropriate, but most of us don't have those floating around our homes. So I'm using a book here. So you'll first start laying on that lacrosse ball on the book in this spot, in the higher spot, and then you'll slowly work your way down to that lower spot. We want to hold each position for about a minute. So here you hold that ball into place and then lower yourself down onto that elevation. The leg, the side that the ball is on is straight, and then the opposite knee is bent to, again, help kind of open that spot up and allow you to push into it. But you're only letting yourself breathe and relax into it as much as you can. If this is extremely painful for you, lower the amount of pressure by bringing yourself up a little bit higher on it. If you can, let yourself completely relax over it and breathe into it. You want to let that the belly relax into this, as counterintuitive as that may feel, especially if this is really aggressive for you. But let yourself breathe into it, and that will help release. And you just want to hold into that position for about a minute. And then when you're ready to go to that lower spot, slowly lift yourself up, moving that ball and box and block down to that lower part, equal to that, right across from that hip bone. And then nice and smooth back down for, again, about a minute.